For nearly 6 years, I've been a nurse at County General. The 12-hour shifts are exhausting, especially since we're almost always short-staffed. Lately, that feels like the norm. Today was especially brutal, 2 codes back to back, followed by an extra 2 hours of paperwork and helping with the shift change. All I wanted was to get home, kick off my shoes, and crash on the couch with a frozen dinner and whatever mindless show I could find on streaming. Maybe even treat myself to a glass of wine, even though I knew I'd fall asleep halfway through it. But the flashing gas light on my dashboard had other plans. With a sigh, I flicked on my turn signal and prepared to pull into my regular gas station. It's this tiny place with only 2 pumps, 4 spots total, but the prices are better than the big chains, and I rarely have to wait long. When I was turning into the lot, this shiny black Mercedes coming from the opposite direction cut right across my path, nearly clipping my front bumper. I slammed on my brakes, sending my gym bag and a stack of patient charts I'd brought home to review flying onto the floor. I shouted in shock, cursing in a way that would have made my grandmother disown me. The near miss had my adrenaline pumping, and I couldn't hold back my anger. I pulled into the station and noticed a police cruiser parked near the small convenience store. For a moment, I hoped the officer had witnessed the reckless driving, but no such luck. The Mercedes pulled up to one side of the pumps, and I took the other. I got out, swiped my card, and started filling my tank. That's when I heard the woman in the Mercedes talking loudly on her phone. She was complaining to someone named Shelley about the gas station service. She was insisting that she had arrived before me but was being ignored by the attendant. She called the people working there stupid and told her friend she needed to hang up to deal with the situation. Then she yelled at me, demanding my attention. She wrongly assumed I worked at the station and lectured me about proper customer service. She insisted I should be able to start pumping her gas before finishing with my own car. The woman threatened to call my boss if I made her late and scolded me for serving customers out of order, claiming she had arrived before that guy, not realizing I was that very customer. I looked down at her license plate, New Jersey. Of course, in New Jersey they don't pump their own gas. She thought I worked at the station. The pump was blocking her view of me so she couldn't see that I was just another customer. I considered explaining the misunderstanding, but the entitled expression on her face and the way she nearly caused an accident made me choose a different approach. She stared harder at me, raising her perfectly shaped eyebrows and waggling her credit card more emphatically. I released my pump handle, walked over, and took the card from her manicured fingers. Looking her straight in the eyes, I snapped my hand downward and flung her card directly into the trash barrel beside the pump. Someone had thrown a slushie in there earlier, and her card made a satisfying splat sound when it hit the bottom. The scream that followed was so high-pitched, I'm surprised it didn't shatter her windshield. She erupted from her car, hurling obscenities at me. That's when the police officer came running out. The officer asked the woman if she was all right and inquired about what was happening. The woman accused me of assault and theft, claiming I had stolen her card and thrown it in the trash barrel, which she indicated with her long manicured nail. The officer turned to me and asked if her accusation was correct. I explained that I had merely taken her card because she had insisted, emphasizing the word insisted. Since I wasn't obligated to provide any service with the card and didn't want it, I had disposed of it in the most convenient way available, the trash barrel. The officer remarked that my action was petty and suggested I should retrieve the card for her. The woman looked smug at this direction. I countered with a condition that the officer detain both of us and check the store's parking lot security footage. After seeing how we had entered the lot, he could decide who should have to dig through the trash. The officer raised an eyebrow but agreed to my proposal. He took our licenses and instructed us to wait while he reviewed the footage. While he was gone, she started threatening me with lawsuits and assault charges. I ignored her and finished filling my tank. My calm demeanor seemed to unsettle her, and she eventually retreated to her car to continue her phone conversation with Shelley, now focusing on which lawyer she would call. After about 20 minutes, The officer returned. He handed me back my license and told me I was free to go. Before the woman could protest, he turned to her sternly. He demanded to see her registration, his tone making it clear she was in trouble. As I drove away, I saw her frantically digging through her glove compartment while the officer wrote in his notebook. In my rearview mirror, I could see her gesturing wildly, probably trying to explain away her dangerous driving. I have lived in this neighborhood for as long as I can remember. It's a peaceful place where everyone looks out for each other and cares about their neighbors. That is, until Karen moved in. I'm a middle school teacher who has owned my modest two-bedroom house for nearly 15 years. My parents helped with the down payment as a graduation gift when I finished college, and I've taken pride in maintaining it ever since. I know all my neighbors by sight, if not by name, and we always exchange pleasantries when we pass each other walking our dogs or collecting our mail. Karen arrived about 6 months ago. The moving truck pulled up on a Saturday morning and several of us neighbors brought over welcome baskets and offered to help. She barely acknowledged us, barking orders at the movers and complaining loudly about how the previous owners had completely misrepresented the size of the closets. Within the first week, we all realized we had a problem. Karen's idea of settling in involved blasting music until 2 a.m., letting her dog run loose to do its business on everyone else's lawns, and parking her oversized SUV wherever she pleased, often blocking mailboxes or taking up 2 spaces on our narrow street. The neighborhood association president attempted to have a friendly chat with her about our community guidelines. He tried to welcome her properly and share information about our neighborhood practices, but Karen rudely cut him off. She told him she didn't have time for this, that she paid her taxes and would do whatever she wanted on her property. When the president tried to explain that our guidelines were designed to maintain property values and neighborhood harmony, Karen simply slammed the door in his face. I managed to avoid direct confrontation with her for months. I'm not confrontational by nature. I deal with enough drama teaching 7th graders all day. But everything changed last Thursday. I had scheduled a doctor's appointment months in advance. It was important. I needed to discuss some concerning test results and potential treatment options. When I was gathering my things to leave, I looked out the window and saw Karen's SUV parked directly across my driveway, completely blocking me in. I took a deep breath, grabbed my phone to document the situation with a few photos, and walked next door to Karen's house. I knocked politely. After the 3rd attempt, she finally answered, phone pressed to her ear. I politely explained that I needed to leave for an important appointment and that her car was blocking my driveway. Karen barely looked at me and dismissively told me to just drive around it because she was busy. When I explained that wasn't possible because her car was completely blocking my exit, I asked if she could please move it. Karen rolled her eyes and said she was on an important call and would get to it when she was done. I tried to emphasize the urgency of my situation, mentioning I've been waiting months for this appointment. Karen briefly covered her phone and told me it wasn't her problem, then returned to her call, apologizing to the person on the line for her annoying neighbor. She shut the door in my face. I stood there for a moment, stunned at her complete disregard. I called my doctor's office to explain the situation, but they couldn't reschedule. The specialist was booked solid for the next 3 months. After waiting another 20 minutes and knocking again, no answer this time, I called a towing company. The operator assured me that since the vehicle was blocking a private driveway, they had every right to tow it. Within 30 minutes, Karen's SUV was hooked up and hauled away. I missed my appointment, but the sense of finally taking action gave me a strange satisfaction. The next morning, I was awakened by thunderous pounding on my front door. I threw on a robe and peeked through the peephole to see Karen's angry face. Karen shouted at me to open the door right now. I cautiously opened the door, keeping the security chain in place, and asked if I could help her. She demanded to know where her car was, saying the towing company told her I had it towed and questioned how I dared to touch her property. I explained that she had parked in my driveway, blocking me in, and I had it towed because she refused to move it when I asked politely. Karen angrily asked what I meant by not giving her car back and demanded I give her the keys. I clarified that I didn't have her keys or her car and that the towing company had it, so she would need to pay the fees to get it back. That's when she snapped. Karen slammed her shoulder against my door, breaking the security chain. She pushed her way into my house, wild-eyed. She accused me of having her keys and possibly stealing them too. Then she began tearing through my living room, flipping over couch cushions and knocking books off shelves. I demanded she stop immediately and get out of my house. Karen continued ranting, asking where her car was and saying I had no right. I told her it was gone and now she needed to be gone too. I backed away to the kitchen and called the police. Karen continued her rampage, breaking a vase my grandmother had given me and upending a coffee table. The police arrived within minutes. Two officers entered and immediately restrained Karen, who was still screaming accusations. One officer told Karen she needed to calm down right away. Karen yelled for them to arrest me, calling me a thief who stole her car. The officer then asked me to explain what happened. I showed them the photos I'd taken of her car blocking my driveway, the record of my doctor's appointment, and the receipt from the towing company. The officer nodded and turned to Karen, informing her she was being arrested for breaking and entering, destruction of property, and disturbing the peace. Karen asked if they knew who she was and, claiming her husband played golf with the police chief. As they led her away in handcuffs, my neighbors gathered outside, drawn by the commotion. Several approached to offer support and shared their own Karen stories. She received a restraining order preventing her from coming within 100 feet of my property. Within a month, a for sale sign appeared in front of Karen's house. I hope she learned something from all of this, but somehow I doubt it. Last February, after years of loyal service, my trusty green Razer headphones finally died. Instead of replacing them with the same model, I decided to have some fun. I spent $80 on the bright pink Razer Kraken Pro V2. My main reason? To mess with my best friend, who never stopped bragging about their gaming setup. The look on their face when I showed up with flashy pink pro-level headphones was absolutely worth it. Fast forward to yesterday, I was at Walmart just minding my business, grabbing some sodas, and browsing around. I had my pink headphones on, blasting music loud enough that I couldn't hear anything else. I was in my own little world until I felt someone tap my shoulder. I turned around to see a woman with a teenage girl who looked about 16 or 17. I took off my headphones to hear what they wanted. When I asked what they wanted, the woman smiled in a way that felt off. She complimented me, saying her daughter liked my headphones. I thanked her politely. Then she asked how much I would sell them for, explaining that her daughter really wanted them, and they had been looking for headphones for ages. The teenager beside her was practically bouncing with excitement, declaring that she wanted the pink ones specifically. I started to tell them where I got mine from Amazon, but the woman cut me off. She clarified that she wanted to buy my actual headphones, offering $20 for them. I laughed, thinking she was joking. She wasn't. She raised her offer to $25, telling me to take it or leave it. I explained that I had paid over $80 for these Razer Kraken Pro gaming headphones and suggested they get their own. The woman insisted her daughter needed them because she was a gamer. That got my attention, so I decided to test this claim by asking what her favorite game was. The girl responded that she needed them for a Fortnite tournament. I laughed and told her to get her own headphones and suggested she play better games. This made the woman angry. She told me not to laugh at her child. I asked her to leave me alone. She scolded me for my language, though I hadn't sworn. Her daughter chimed in, saying only adults could use swear words. Confused by this, I asked which one of them I should listen to. The woman replied that I should listen to both of them, insisting that a child like me shouldn't use adult language. This was getting ridiculous. She thought I was a kid. I told her that I was actually an adult, striking a dramatic pose for effect. She countered by saying she was my elder. I pointed out that she had no authority over me, so I didn't need to listen to her if I didn't want to. The woman got even more angry and demanded I give her my headphones, claiming I owed them to her now. The teenager echoed her mother, saying she wanted the pink ones. I refused and told them to leave me alone. The teenager started crying, which seemed to trigger something in her mother. She yelled at me, blaming me for making her daughter cry and demanding I give the headphones to her baby. I refused again and walked away. I continued my shopping, picking up a Hatsune Miku poster and two My Hero Academia posters, along with the sodas I came for originally. After checking out, I started heading toward the exit when I spotted my friend who works at Walmart. Unfortunately, the woman and her daughter were with them. The woman was telling my friend that I was the person who stole her headphones. My friend asked if this was true. I greeted my friend, and they greeted me back. The woman complained about my friend's unprofessional behavior, insisting I had stolen her headphones and demanding they stop me. I asked my friend if they had seen me wearing these headphones at school. My friend confirmed that I'd had them since last February. The woman accused me of lying and insisted that I return the headphones to her daughter. I pointed out the logic flaw in her story. How could I have had the headphones since February if I had supposedly stolen them from her today? The woman went silent for a moment, clearly trying to think of what to say next. Then she started protesting again, but my friend wasn't having any of it. Eventually, the woman started screaming at both of us. The commotion attracted security, who came over and detained her for causing a disturbance. Later that night, I got a text from my friend with some interesting news. Apparently, when security searched the woman's purse, they found a baggie of coke, and her daughter had MJ on her. Both of them ended up getting arrested, and I still have my pink headphones. Becoming a tour guide at the Acropolis was never part of my plan when I first moved to Greece. But having a Greek father and an American mother meant I grew up bilingual, which gave me an edge most locals didn't have. I could switch effortlessly between Greek and English. When I started college in Athens and needed extra cash, guiding English-speaking tourists turned out to be the perfect gig. The job had its ups and downs. For every respectful tourist, there were 3 who complained about the heat, refused to wear sunscreen, or showed up drunk. But I loved sharing my country's history. That one July morning, I was assigned a cruise ship group, mostly Americans and Brits, with just a few hours to see one of the world's most important historical sites. The sun was already fierce by 9 a.m., but many in my group weren't prepared despite my warnings about bringing water. About an hour into the tour, an older woman quietly approached me while the rest of the group was taking photos. She whispered that she had overheard a man with his wife and teenage son talking about taking a real souvenir from the site, not from the gift shop. Artifact theft is a serious crime in Greece. For centuries, foreign visitors have stolen pieces of our heritage, from small stones to entire sections of buildings. I thanked her and kept an eye on the man she pointed out, ordinary looking with cargo shorts, a baseball cap, and an expensive camera. His wife looked bored while their teenage son was glued to his phone. When we reached the Parthenon restoration site, I gave my usual explanation about the preservation work. While answering another tourist's question, I caught the man bending down, pretending to tie his shoe, and quickly pocketing a small piece of marble. I immediately confronted him, asking him to return the stone and explaining that removing anything from this archaeological site was strictly prohibited. He denied taking anything, even when I insisted I had clearly seen him. I warned him that this was considered antiquities theft and that I would call security if he didn't return it. The woman who had warned me earlier backed me up, saying she had also seen him take the marble. The man's wife sighed dramatically while their son distanced himself from the situation. The man complained loudly about us making a big deal over a little piece of stone. He claimed no one would miss it and compared it to taking a piece of the Berlin Wall. His comparison made my blood boil. This was one of humanity's greatest architectural achievements, a 2,500-year-old monument that had survived wars, explosions, and pollution. I told him this was a site of priceless historical value, that every piece was an artifact, and that he needed to return it immediately or I would call security. When he announced he was leaving, I called my supervisor while following him. Security caught him at the exit. With a witness confirming what happened, they searched him and found the marble piece in his pocket. The police arrived and escorted the family to the station while they complained about missing their cruise ship. The man received a formal warning and was banned from returning to the Acropolis. Security returned the marble piece to the restoration team. What still amazes me is the entitlement of thinking you can just take a piece of ancient history home as a souvenir. That marble wasn't just a rock. It was a fragment of our collective human heritage, something that belongs to everyone precisely because it stays where it belongs.